Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. Hope you guys are having a wonderful day. We're going to be talking about Palantir Technologies and what a possible S&P 500 inclusion could mean for this stock in particular. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because tomorrow we see the announcement of which stocks will be coming in and leaving the S&P 500. And this is on top of a much anticipated jobs report that could bring a lot of volatility because the market is trying to price in its probability on the interest rate cuts. And this is also going to give us more of an idea of what the transition is in terms of a soft landing for the US economy. Is it actually going to be a soft landing, or are we possibly entering the brink of some type of a recession? That is the big uncertain factor in the market that's occurring right now. And we see trading volumes that kind of dwindled in today's market. And especially with September, that has been historically a red day, a red month for the broader market. This is coming to fruition as we speak. So before we get too far, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and of course, not a financial advisor, collecting on the data and dispatching it to you. Pop it up here. You can see Palantir closing at 30.16. Palantir has done a really good job holding what I'm kind of calling right now a not 100% critical, but a pretty foundational level of support. Palantir has done a great job holding in these low 30s, and we've seen an important reversal that was even triggered here back on the 28th of August, right at that $30 level. So Palantir, with the jobs report that's going to be coming out tomorrow, we could expect some volatility. If that 30 does not hold, we could possibly be anticipating more of a pullback into the higher 20s. We could be seeing right here where we've seen some consolidation here into the higher 20s, 26, 27. Trading volume is lower, and we don't see a ton of activity on the options market. We're seeing that across the board in terms of the general market due to the fact, like I said, that jobs report is going to be coming, and we will be talking about that in just a few more minutes here. S&P basically consolidates slightly in red, down about 0.3%. Now, talking about the Palantir stock and its possible inclusion into the S&P 500, what this could indicate in terms of a short-term and a bullish kind of long-term catalyst, and specifically what we've seen with other stocks that have been included into the S&P 500. Now, we've talked about this a few times regarding Palantir Technologies. However, with what we have in the market right now, a possible inclusion to the S&P 500 really could provide a short-term bullish catalyst. But one big thing that does linger on a lot, along with these big AI stocks, Palantir included here, is its high valuation. And specifically, what we've seen is Palantir has done a really good job, especially for its fiscal year 2024. Its report here, revenues that we're seeing that have been increasing, commercial revenue, AIP has done a great job bringing a lot of exposure, along with the growth of the governmental sector for PLTR. So the bullish catalyst right here that could really, I think, spring short-term growth, I agree with this article here, is the potential inclusion of the S&P 500 index. And why this is important, I also agree with this, is because we're seeing that passive investing that is starting to become more popular across the board. This is both on the US and international, basically household, as we're seeing a growing influx into ETFs. And this is because we're starting to see this belief that it's really hard to beat the market, which is true. So why not invest in a lot of different stocks and diversify across the board? We're seeing more people that are aligning with that perspective and also that goal. We also see here that Palantir Technologies has met the criteria for the S&P 500. This quarter is likely to mark the 7th consecutive quarter of profitability, and with GAAP standards, we are seeing many different quarters that are starting to add up that Palantir has fully met that criteria to be included. So I think it is just a matter of time. It is already among the top 300 largest company. So the chances for Palantir being included into this index is very high. Now, what they're talking about here is that they're only going to really see a short-term bullish factor. That's what they're predicting. And the reason why is because, like I said, you have a lot of that passive just buying pressure that's coming in, and it's a good piece of bullish news, a big accomplishment and milestone for the company by itself. Historically, what we've seen with these different types of stocks that enter into the S&P 500 is usually about a 5 to 7% increase in price in the short term. Now, the reason why this article is talking about just a short-term bullish type of catalyst movement here, if it is included, is due to the fact of its valuation. And looking at different types of model here and all these algorithms, blah, 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 it's getting with the discounted cash flow model, getting very technical. I don't want to bore you guys too much, but the bottom line here is Palantir is very highly valued. We're dealing with a highly overvalued company right now. It's trading at substantial premiums to the market norms. And we're seeing that with NVIDIA. We're seeing that with a lot of the AI stocks. We know we're in an AI boom. Palantir is doing a good job kind of throwing that valuation out the window and holding at these price levels. That's what they're using as their justification in terms of this is just going to be a short-term bullish catalyst if it's included into the S&P 500. But talking about where will it be in the next year, there's a lot of different macroeconomic variables that we can't predict. We have a lot of things that are riding and depending on the Fed. That's going to be the interest rates. How is that going to affect the market? And especially with the economic activity that we're seeing cooling inflation and things that are starting to cool off. This is not necessarily a bad thing. However, stronger than expected growth, if Palantir can still stay on top of its game, even if we do turn to more of a bear market, this will be incredibly bullish for PLTR. Now, talking about what's been happening in the market, of course, what we are seeing is a little bit of a decrease in activity because everybody is awaiting the pivotal jobs report. We see wobbling of the stocks today on Thursday, while private employers in the U.S., they actually posted their smallest monthly hiring growth since January of 2021. And new data from ADP showed on Thursday that private payrolls grew about 99,000, well below the expectation. And meanwhile, slightly fewer Americans filed a new claim for unemployment benefits, and government data showed job openings had slumped. So we're seeing here ahead of that, going into tomorrow's markets, really relentless ahead of the jobs report. This is expected to serve as the latest piece of economic data, indicating if the labor market is actually slowing down, pondering the cooling effect, possibly pricing in more of a significant interest rate cut. Right now, as we speak, it's about a 50% probability, about a 50-50, for the Fed to slash interest rates by 50 basis points at the September meeting. But we are not overly confident of those results. Still, I think that 25 basis point is basically fully priced in. We'll see more increased volatility if it is 50 basis points. And that's where I talk about NVIDIA right now. NVIDIA stock is sitting at about that $100 level. And we've seen NVIDIA that's been a little volatile in recent times. They had that subpoena, but holding right here at about the hundreds. We've seen support right at that 99, basically at the $100 level. And NVIDIA did suffer some correction this week, down over 10% in even a single trading day. So since its earnings, is it a buy? Morningstar comes out with an interesting article here talking about how even with the next generation Blackwell products arriving later this year, seeing no pause in purchases, and Blackwell is expected to represent over $3 billion or more in revenue for the fiscal quarter. Talking about here, data center revenue also predicted to grow by a few billion per quarter. So right now, even though Morningstar gives NVIDIA a fair value estimate of $105 per share with the equity value of about $2.5 trillion, we're still seeing a lot of bullish catalyst in NVIDIA, which basically gives it a more of an unpredictable and uncertain rating and how it's going to perform in the future. Financial strength, though, NVIDIA is very well on its balance sheet, along with Palantir. So does not mean that I would change my perspective personally on NVIDIA, still keeping a bullish outlook, but possibly getting in at cheaper prices due to the fact that if there is any type of bearish downturn, NVIDIA has the money to still invest into its resources, developing its AI chips, and being the biggest competitor in the game in terms of AI hardware development. That's all I'm going to have for you guys. I want to know, what do you think is going to be happening for PLTR tomorrow? Are we going to see the S&P 500 inclusion? And lastly, what do you think is going to happen with the jobs report? Lots to break down. We'll come up with an update tomorrow. Peace out. Take care. Have a wonderful night.